In a peaceful and happy kingdom, everyone gathered to witness a beautiful wedding. Marie, wearing a white wedding dress, slowly walked up the stairs toward a nobleman named Kairos. They were about to be married. But the truth was, Marie was never supposed to be the bride. The wedding was meant for her older sister. Baron Shadowrun had two daughters. His eldest, Anastasia, was cheerful, friendly, and beautiful with golden hair, just like a real princess. Marie, the younger sister, was the complete opposite. She was tall, often dirty, and acted more like a boy. She spent her days reading books and working like a maid for her family. Each day, Marie woke up in a small, dark hut where she lived alone. It wasn't a place fit for a lady. Her family was not too rich, so she did most of the work. She washed up quickly at a nearby well, then went to her family's house to cook. Her parents, Anastasia, and their younger brother, Cedric, all ate together at a bright dining table. Marie, however, had to eat leftover scraps alone in the dirty kitchen. At night, she worked in her father's place, balancing the family's money and signing papers using his name, using only a small lamp for light. Once finished, she would quietly wash again at the well, staring up at the stars. Tomorrow was her birthday. She only wished for one good day. The next day, the Shadowrun family hosted a big banquet. Nobles filled the hall and music played. Anastasia looked stunning in her fancy gown. Cedric commented on her beauty, and everyone seemed to admire her. Marie stood quietly off to the side, wearing a plain dress with messy hair. Then her father stood up and gave a speech. He thanked everyone for coming and announced that Anastasia was the star of the night. Marie lowered her head, realizing the truth. This wasn't a birthday celebration for her. It was her sister's debut party arranged to help her find a fiancé. Feeling heartbroken, Marie ran out of the hall. She walked quickly through the corridors and into the garden. Sitting by the pond, she stared at her reflection and felt ashamed of her appearance. Then a man approached and asked her for directions. Marie silently pointed him in the right direction. The man assumed she was a maid, but his companion corrected him, saying that the Shadowruns only employed one elderly servant. Understanding that Marie must be one of the Baron's daughters, the man apologized for the mistake. Marie noticed his formal clothing and realized he was from Ipsandra. She mentioned this, surprising the man with her accuracy. She spoke about Ipsandrian traditions and even shared a story about a red raggedy cat from their folklore. The man, whose name was Kairos, was impressed by her knowledge. Their conversation flowed easily. But then Marie remembered her father's warnings. He had always said that women shouldn't show off what they know. Suddenly embarrassed, she apologized and tried to leave. Kairos gently stopped her and looked at her kindly. Marie froze. His flawless face made her feel plain and worthless. Tears filled her eyes. Kairos apologized again for mistaking her identity but remained curious about why she wore such simple clothes. Marie answered honestly, saying it was because she wasn't pretty. Kairos responded by pulling her closer and telling her she was beautiful. Hearing those words was too much for Marie. She quickly told him where to find her sister and walked away in tears. She ran through the woods and returned to her tiny house. No matter how kind Kairos had been, her sadness wouldn't go away. A month later, a letter arrived at the Shadowrun home. It was a marriage proposal for Anastasia from Count Granado, a rich and powerful noble expected to become a duke. Their father was overjoyed and immediately ordered Marie to write a formal reply and send announcements to all nearby nobles and relatives. Later, Anastasia spoke to Marie in private. She admitted she was nervous about marrying a man whose face she couldn't remember. She had also heard troubling rumors about him disliking women. Marie tried to stay hopeful, pointing out that the letter at least sounded full of passion. Their mood lifted when the topic shifted to fashion. Anastasia had a secret love for designing suits for man. Since Marie was tall, the suits always looked good on her. Anastasia brought out one of her hidden outfits and made Marie promise to keep it a secret. Their parents had once destroyed her designs after finding out about her interest. Anastasia dreamed of starting a clothing business in the capital if their family ever became poor. She encouraged Marie to follow her own talents too. The two sisters loved each other deeply, but tragedy struck. Anastasia died in an accident on her way to meet Count Granado. Marie was devastated. She remembered how her sister had once told her the story of the red raggedy cat, and the memory brought tears to her eyes. As she sat remembering, her mother suddenly slapped her hard. Marie fell to the floor. Her mother screamed in anger, blaming Marie for Anastasia's death. She said that Marie should have died instead. Her rage continued until her father arrived and pulled her away, not out of concern for Marie, but to make sure there were no visible bruises. Her father then decided to send Marie to Count Granado in Anastasia's place. The family had already used up their wealth to prepare for the wedding. He told Marie this was the only way she could make up for everything. Though it didn't make sense, Marie began to believe she was at fault simply for being born. A few days later, Marie traveled with her father to the Count's estate. During the carriage ride, he kept reminding her how to behave, insulting her the entire time. Marie quietly agreed with everything and tried to smile, though he mocked even that. At the gate of the estate, the guards refused them entry. The letter had only arrived that morning. Her father became angry and tried to attack the maid who spoke to them, but she quickly defended herself and pinned him to the ground. Just then, Marie stepped out of the carriage. As she lowered her head, her veil slipped off. The maid immediately recognized her and called her Lady Marie. She introduced herself as Mio and ordered the guards to alert the count. Inside Kairos, the same man Marie had met in the garden was furious when he learned that Anastasia's sister had come in her place. But when he saw Marie's face, his anger vanished. Marie was shocked to discover that the man she had met in the garden was actually Count Granado himself. Her father explained Anastasia's death, but when he tried to speak badly of Marie, Kairos gave him a cold warning stare. Calmly, Kairos announced that Marie would stay the night at the palace. Mio brought Marie to a private room and served her food. When Marie asked where her father was, Mio explained that he was in a meeting with Count Granado. As Mio prepared tea, Marie identified the blend and named the spices. Mio was impressed by her knowledge and sincere appreciation. Not long after, Kairos arrived at the door. Marie bowed and apologized again for her father. Kairos explained that her father had already left and taken the engagement gifts to Anastasia's grave. Kairos then asked if she was being mistreated at home. Marie said no. In her mind, her family's coldness was just tough training. She believed they were trying to help her survive, but Kairos thought otherwise. He remembered the clothes she wore at the banquet. Those clothes are for widows and servants, and became more certain that she had been abused. When he asked if she was unhappy, Marie couldn't answer. She had never allowed herself to hope for anything more. Kairos then gave Mio a quiet order to take her away. In her mind, Marie thought she was being sent away because she wasn't beautiful enough. But Mio smiled warmly and led her to a private bath. Marie assumed she was there to clean, but Mio explained that bath was meant for her. Inside, a bath caretaker named Tunica helped her undress and prepared a large tub filled with warm water and flower petals. Tunica gently washed her hair and skin, promising she would shine like a new person by the end. Marie slowly relaxed and even fell asleep in the warm bath. That evening, Kairos waited at the stairs. When Marie appeared, she looked like a completely different person. Her hair was smooth, her dress elegant, and her skin glowing. Even she couldn't believe how she looked in the mirror. One look at Marie leaves Kairos speechless. It truly feels as if she has been reborn. Kairos called his mother, Lulu, to meet her. Lulu studied Marie carefully from head to toe. As the head of the family, Lulu's approval was needed for the marriage to happen. After a long silence, Lulu finally said that Marie lacked something. Kairos was ready to defend her, but Lulu continued. What Marie lacked was confidence. She said Marie needed to learn how to carry herself with pride if she was to marry a duke, but she also said there was still time to learn. Mio congratulated Marie. It was only then that she realized Lulu had accepted her. The engagement was official, the room filled with cheers, but Marie stood frozen. Then finally she screamed she couldn't do it. That night, while gazing at the stars and sipping his wine, Kairos can't help but recall how lovely she is. But Mio soon pulls him back to reality. Marie has just rejected his marriage proposal. The memory hits him like a blow, and Kairos slumps onto the table in tears, unwilling to hear it repeated. Still, Mio reminds him it is her duty to deliver the truth. She adds without hesitation that he proposed to the wrong sister that night. It's true that the evening had been Marie's birthday, and no one would have guessed that the quiet girl sitting in the dark was the birthday girl herself. Kairos' father, Count Alfred Granado, had 2 wives. As children, Kairos and a girl used to share stories while arguments echoed down the halls from the Count's 2 households. His official wife was Lady Laura, a noblewoman, while his concubine was Lulu, a traveler from Ipsandros and Kairos' mother. One day, while chasing butterflies in the garden, young Kairos tripped and fell to his knees, crying loudly. Lady Laura approached and offered him a piece of sweet pastry. With just one bite, Kairos brightened. Laura smiled and admitted she had baked it herself. She teased him for trusting her so easily, but he was too taken by the flavor to mind. When she asked what other sweets he liked, he eagerly listed them, and Laura confessed her own love for sweets, explaining that baking helped her forget unpleasant things. Before leaving, she promised to make him chocolate cookies next time, and Kairos looked forward to it with innocent joy. Years later, Count Alfred summoned Lulu and Kairos for a private meeting. Despite Lady Laura being the official wife, all of her children were daughters, which meant only Kairos, the son of the concubine, could inherit the dukedom. Both Liu and Kairos were stunned. But the one most shaken was Lady Laura, who had been quietly eavesdropping outside the door. Then, one sorrowful night, a scream of grief rang through the castle. Kairos rushed toward the sound and found all his sisters gathered around Lady Laura's lifeless body. A half-eaten cookie lay in her hand, and beside her, a small vial of poison. Kairos was stunned. The woman who had once shown him such kindness had chosen death. After her passing, Lulu was offered the position of the official wife, but she refused. Instead, she left the Duke's estate, taking Kairos with her. Over the years, Kairos earned the title of Count through his own merit. Still, he held no affection for noble society. He avoided their gatherings, rejected marriage proposals from noble families, and tore up invitations bearing old family names. Eventually, Kairos made a rare appearance at a noble party. His friend Rufun teased him for finally showing up, though Kairos reminded him he only came because Rufun had personally invited him. As they chatted, Rufun handed him another invitation, this one from a rural baron. Apparently, the baron had sent invitations to every unmarried nobleman. The Shatterin family's financial struggles were no secret, and everyone knew the so-called birthday celebration was just a way to showcase the baron's daughter for potential marriage. Though Kairos found the gesture distasteful, rumors described the daughter as a rare beauty. Rufun, already engaged, had no intention of going. Kairos, though free to attend, initially chose not to. While he debated it, a blonde woman approached and offered him sweets. After he accepted one, she blushed and hurried away. Kairos was used to noble women favoring him only for his title and wealth. Beneath their polite smiles, he knew they looked down on Ipsandrians. Even now, whispers in the halls reminded him of their disdain. Though Rufun sympathized with him, he reminded Kairos that he couldn't remain unmarried forever. Without a wife, there would be no heir to continue the line. As he left, Rufun remarked that he was eager to meet the woman who might finally move Kairos' heart. Those words lingered. Glancing again at the invitation, Kairos reconsidered. Perhaps the daughter of a struggling household would be a practical match. If marriage was to be a mere arrangement, then someone manageable would suffice. Kairos never expected to fall in love until that night he met Marie. Marie's fascination with Ipsandrian culture completely disarmed him. He had fallen for her, yet somehow he had let her slip away. At the gathering, he saw Baron Shatterin entertaining guests. When he asked about the Baron's daughter, he was pointed toward a blonde girl, the star of the night. The Baron had two daughters, the elder Anastasia and the younger Marie. Since it was Marie's birthday, Kairos assumed the quiet girl he'd spoken to was Anastasia. Realizing his mistake, he searched the estate for the quiet girl from the garden, but she was nowhere to be found. So he sent a formal letter requesting the hand of Baron Shatterin's elder daughter, Anastasia. When her reply came, Kairos spared no expense to prepare. He arranged jewels, dresses, maids, even a body pillow to ease his sleepless nights. But tragedy struck. News arrived that her carriage had fallen. His heart shattered. Only then did the truth emerge. The girl he had fallen for was not Anastasia, but Marie, younger daughter. Back in the present, Mio tried again to pull Kairos from his sorrow. He winced, unwilling to hear the truth aloud, but Mio pressed on. She reminded him that when Marie arrived at the castle, transformed, he rejected her without knowing. On her very first day, he had her sent away. To Marie, it must have seemed like he was disgusted. No wonder she believed he wanted nothing to do with her. Kairos now hoped that clearing up the misunderstanding might mend things. Mio agreed. After all, he was the only one truly in love. Together, they went to Marie's quarters, hoping to see her smile. In her room, Marie stared at her reflection. Her tattered clothes and messy hair had been replaced overnight, and the transformation made her nearly unrecognizable. Her thoughts scattered at the sound of a knock. When Mio and Kairos entered, Marie bowed her head immediately and apologized. She admitted she panicked during the proposal and acted improperly. Kairos, understanding her distress, pulled her to stop bowing. When she looked up, he saw her clearly and blushed. Mio stepped on his foot discreetly to bring him back to his senses. With a steady breath, Kairos began to explain. He assured Marie that he didn't hate her. Not at all. He believed she had come to the castle of her own will. Regardless of the confusion, his feelings were sincere. He wanted her to be his wife. To his surprise, Marie accepted. She explained that she had been shocked earlier and had meant to refuse. She never intended to reject him and had understood the situation from the start. She believed the marriage to be one of convenience. After all, Kairos had fallen for the beautiful Anastasia, or so she thought. Now, with Anastasia gone, the burden fell on her. Marie, the useless younger sister. She accepted this and even said Kairos could treat her however he wished. Kairos was stunned by her self-deprecation. He explained again that while his intentions began as political, his feelings had changed. The letter he had written, though addressed to Anastasia, was meant for the girl he had met in the garden. She nodded, saying she knew his feelings had been meant for someone else. That was exactly why she misunderstood everything. Kairos wanted to say more, but the bell rang. It was time for dinner. At dinner, Marie was stunned by the richness of the food. She had never eaten anything like it. Before she could comment, Kairos put down his utensils. He could wait no longer. He confessed that the letter had never been meant for Anastasia. He had confused the names. The one he had fallen for was Marie. Though she responded politely, Kairos could see that she didn't believe him. She thought he was only trying not to hurt her feelings. Deep inside, she believed he was marrying her out of convenience. She assumed that in time he would take a concubine and she would return to her old life. Still, she didn't mind. She had lived that way before. She could live that way again. Later, during tea, Kairos gently told her he loved her. Mary found the idea absurd and remained silent. Her lack of response unsettled him, but he continued. Regardless of how she felt now, their engagement would proceed. The ceremony was set in 3 months and he would handle all the arrangements. Before he could leave, Marie asked for a favor. She wanted to return home once before the betrothal. She explained that her father expected her to serve as a one-night comfort and be cast aside. She wanted to hear his final instructions herself. The request frustrated Kairos. He told her he would need time to consider it. Not long after, Mio brought news. Marie was forbidden from returning home. If her family wanted to visit, they would need Kairos' permission. Then gently, Mio asked a question she had long kept to herself. She wanted to know why Marie believed she was ugly. After a long pause, Marie revealed that her parents had made sure she saw her reflection only when she was ragged and dirty. Sympathizing, Mio took her hands and encouraged her to see her true self in the mirror. That night, alone in her room, Marie gazed at her reflection. She thought of Mio's words, but deep down, she believed she had never truly seen the real her. She sat on the edge of the bed and her expression changed as she sank into the soft mattress. Lying down, she stared at the ceiling in quiet wonder. The palace, the clothes, the maids, and the count who now wanted to marry her. It all felt like a fleeting dream. One she feared would vanish when she awoke. Even as she tried to sleep, Kairos' words echoed in her mind. And even if it was just a dream, she wished it could last a little longer. When morning came, she instinctively rose to begin her chores. But the sunlight streaming in reminded her where she was. She closed her eyes again, unable to believe it. Soon, Mio arrived with 2 attendants. As they bowed, Marie instinctively bowed even lower. Mio gently reminded her to be at ease. Now that she was the Count's fiancé, they would serve her needs from this day forward. Hannah and Lisa, the 2 attendants, were now by her side. Everything still felt like a dream to Marie. Having 2 attendants to help her was far beyond anything she was used to. The attendants looked at each other, quietly watching how she behaved. Despite feeling nervous, Marie asked where they came from. They told her they had worked in the royal palace and were recommended by the 3rd prince. Their graceful manners reminded Marie of her own parents. Before she could think more about it, Mio gently called her name and asked if she was ready for breakfast. When Marie sat at the table, she was amazed by the large amount of food in front of her. Mio explained what each dish was, and Marie noticed how many different kinds of meat there were. It seemed the kitchen had prepared many options to see what she might like. Sensing Marie's hesitation, Mio kindly told her that she didn't have to eat everything and could choose what she liked. Marie then offered to share her food with Mio, but Mio refused, saying that attendants were not allowed to eat with their master. With no other choice, Marie took a bite. To her surprise, the food tasted amazing, and soon she was eating happily, plate after plate. Even when she started to feel full, she kept going because everything was too delicious to leave behind. Eventually, her stomach couldn't take any more. Mio quietly cleared the table, and Marie felt bad for leaving any food unfinished. The next item on the schedule was a tour of the palace. But first, Mio brought Marie to a wardrobe room. When the doors opened, Marie was shocked to see so many gowns and shoes inside. She made a joke to herself about having only one body and not being able to wear them all. Mio explained that the wardrobe was filled with clothes for all seasons and special events. When Marie was asked to pick one, she felt overwhelmed by the number of choices. In the end, Mio chose a soft yellow dress for her. As they walked through the estate, Mio told her the history of the place. The Granada Castle was originally built as a border defense. After the war, the family earned the title of Duke and were given their own lands to govern. Although connected to the royal family, they were not in line for the throne. These days, the castle was mainly used for important gatherings. Their next stop was the manor house where Marie would live. As they entered through a side door, Marie saw a beautiful yard filled with plants and flowers. Mio said the Duchess herself had designed the manor. The first floor had the kitchen, rooms for staff, and private rooms for close family and guests. While they were walking through the hall, they ran into Thomas. Marie quickly bowed and apologized for how her father acted during their first meeting, but Thomas simply brushed it off. They introduced themselves properly, and Marie recognized his name from a story about a hero who once discovered an island. Thomas confirmed it, saying he lived there. But before the conversation could continue, Mio stepped in and pulled him aside without hesitation. She firmly warned him not to get too close to the Duke's fiancé, and Thomas backed away, clearly apologetic. As Marie looked around the manor, she started to wonder if Kairos did trade with countries from all over the world. Mio explained that he mostly traded within the kingdom of Efandro. Marie had asked because she thought the handmade decorations around the house were from foreign lands, but Mayo said they belonged to the staff, who came from many different places. Kairos hired people based on their skills, not their background, which was why the staff respected him so much. Curious, Marie guessed that Mayo might also be from the capital, but Mio told her she had actually been abandoned as a child and found on the side of the road. Marie felt sorry for her, but Mio gently said there was no need for pity. She was living a good life. Mayo explained that the other two attendants, Hannah and Lisa, came from noble families and were used to serving high-ranking ladies, which was why they had been chosen to assist Marie. Still, Marie found herself more interested in hearing stories from people who had lived different kinds of lives. She kept that thought to herself and simply thanked Mio. That evening, Lisa brought Marie her after-dinner tea. Out of habit, Marie asked for milk, but both attendants rudely told her it would ruin the tea's flavor. Though they were polite, Marie could feel their disapproval. Feeling awkward, she gave up her usual preference and drank the tea as it was. That night, as Marie lay in bed, her thoughts drifted to Kairos. She wondered if he was still busy. Far away in another land, Kairos was indeed riding in his carriage, also thinking of her. Just as he was lost in thought, his coachman reminded him of his busy schedule the next day. With a sigh, Kairos wished he could return home soon. A few days later, Marie enjoyed another delicious breakfast. As she bit into the fresh vegetables, she asked Mio where they got such tasty produce. To her surprise, Mio told her they were grown right in a courtyard garden. Curious, Marie said she'd like to visit. Since Maya would be busy preparing for the Duke's return, she suggested Marie go with the maids Hannah and Lisa. Marie was unsure at first but saw it as a chance to get to know them better. Later that day, Marie went to the garden and met Johan, the gardener. She asked him questions about how he grew the vegetables, and Johan happily answered. When he saw how interested she was, he asked if she liked gardening too. Marie told him she used to grow and sell vegetables back home to help her family, though she struggled with tomatoes. She was impressed by his tomato plants and asked how he managed to grow them so well. Johan invited her to come along so he could show her. As Marie followed him, she heard Hannah and Lisa whispering behind her and noticed they were watching her steps across the dirt. She felt like they were making fun of her. Maybe she deserved it, she thought, but Johan didn't. She paused, looking down at the fancy shoes the Count had given her. They were too nice to get dirty. That thought made her stop in her tracks. That night, unable to sleep, Marie went for a quiet walk through the palace. When she passed the dining hall, she saw the lights still on. Curious, she peeked inside and was surprised to see Kairos. He had just arrived and was about to eat a late dinner. When he saw her, he smiled and invited her to join him. They started talking gently about how her stay had been so far, but their chat was soon interrupted. Mayo entered the room, followed by a shy man trying to stay hidden. It was Tapo, the palace chef, carrying a warm bowl of chicken soup. Marie's face lit up. Kairos asked him to prepare a bowl for Marie too. After one bite, Marie praised the soup and said that all the food at the palace had been wonderful. But to everyone's surprise, Tapo started crying. He said there was no need to flatter him, especially since Marie never finished her meals no matter how hard he tried. Kairos turned to Mio, asking if that was true. Mayo explained calmly that Marie often gave unclear answers when asked. Flustered, Marie quickly explained that she did like the food, but she just got full easily. She even felt guilty for wasting it. Tapo was deeply moved to hear this and got even more emotional, happy that she enjoyed his cooking. Mio then quietly said she would prepare tea for them. Wanting to cheer them up, Tapo decided to make a special dessert. Soon, he returned with a warm apple pie. Marie guessed that maybe the reason Tapo got upset when food was left uneaten was because he assumed everyone had the same appetite he did. She and Kairos invited him to join them. In the end, they all cleaned their plates, with Tapo eating half the pie himself before leaving happily. After he left, Kairos gently told Marie he was sorry for putting her in situations where she had to keep her feelings inside. He asked if there was anything bothering her or anything she wanted. Marie said no, but he mentioned Hannah and Lisa. Marie hesitated and said they were kind and took care of her, but Kairos wasn't convinced. He told her that, as the future duchess, she deserved attendants who suited her better. She didn't need to pretend to be happy if something bothered her. He encouraged her to be honest about her feelings. But Marie had never asked for anything in her life. She was used to accepting whatever was given. To her, that had always been enough. She didn't want to seem ungrateful after receiving so much kindness from the Count, but Kairos gently promised to give her anything she wanted. Those words quietly broke down a wall inside her. Their quiet moment was interrupted again when Mayo returned, carrying their tea along with a huge pile of mashed potatoes. At first, they thought it was for them, but Mio took it away. It was her midnight snack. On the table, 2 small kettles were stacked over a burner. Kairos explained it was a traditional Ipsandrian tea set. The fire heated both kettles. Once the water boiled, it was poured over the tea leaves, then placed back on top. Later, the strong tea was poured into cups and mixed with hot water to adjust the taste. As they waited for the tea, Kairos asked Marie to tell him something about herself, but her mind went blank. The only memory she could think of was playing word chain games with her sister. Kairos then suggested they change the rules. They'd only say things they liked. He started the game with the word Marie, but she insisted they begin with A, so he changed it to apple pie. Marie replied with exciting Ipsandrian stories, a phrase that caught his attention. It was the same thing she'd said when they first met. They continued the game, taking turns. Kairos kept naming sweets while Marie listed farming products, simple and practical things. When it was her turn with the letter K, she accidentally said Kairos, then quickly tried to cover it up by saying she meant kiss. Kairos smiled, clearly understanding the slip, but said nothing and continued the game. He teased her gently by saying her name again, making her blush. Eventually, Maya returned and noticed they were still playing. Only then did they realize the fire had gone out and the tea leaves were completely burnt. They tried to drink it anyway, but the taste was awful. Kairos asked Mio to fix it with milk and sugar, but she dryly replied that the two of them were already sweet enough. That marks the end of today's anime recap. If you enjoyed the video and want more of it, please support the channel by leaving a like and subscribe. Let's help us reach a current goal of 10K subscribers.